So I welcome you to this live video from Sherry Forsyth, a life coach living and working in South Africa. And I am welcoming you to my 8th talk in the series on how to be uniquely and powerfully you. So without sounding twee, but it's really how you can be the strongest you, how you can be the best you. And there are various ways that we can ensure that we do that. And so the previous 7 talks in the series have been showing you different ways in which you could possibly just give yourself that break, give yourself that chance to be a little bit better than maybe you are at the moment. And so what we're talking about today is our use of time. We all have 24 hours in a day, but some people, I don't know, they just seem to achieve more, make a larger difference, get through more things. And so if you think I'm going to speak to you today about time management, I'm not. Okay, we're not talking about time management at all. What we're talking about is that time is a very precious gift that we are given every single day. And many of us are unaware of how we're really spending it, the quality of the activities that we are using that are eating into our time. So much as we can lose money and earn more, we can lose our ability to walk because we have a bad knee. We can have an operation and that can be reinstated. Many things in our life we can remedy if they go wrong. But the one thing we can't do is once we've spent that time, we can't get it back. So we need to make sure that the way we're spending time is going to the priorities in our lives, is making us live the life that we want to be living, not the life that we feel we should be living. So what does your time bank account look like? What are the things that you are depositing your time into? How are you using the time that you are given on a daily and on a weekly basis? So I'd like to start by reading you a little story from Alexander the Great. So on his deathbed, Alexander the Great summoned his generals and told them his 3 ultimate wishes. Number 1, the best doctors should carry his coffin. Number 2, the wealth he had accumulated, money, gold, precious stones, should be scattered along the procession to the cemetery, okay, as they were carrying his coffin. And thirdly, his hands should be let loose, hanging outside the coffin for all to see. One of his generals, who was very surprised by these very unusual requests, asked Alexander to explain. Here is what he had to say. I want the best doctors to carry my coffin to demonstrate that in the face of death, even the best doctors in the world have no power to heal. The second requirement, I want the road to be covered with my treasure so that everyone sees that material wealth acquired on earth stays on earth. And I want my hands to swing in the wind so that people understand that we come to this world empty-handed and we leave this world empty-handed after the most and after the most precious treasure has been exhausted. So at the end of our lives, the most precious treasure that we have exhausted is time. So we do not take to our grave any material wealth, although our good deeds can be our traveler's checks. Time is our most precious treasure because it's limited. We can produce more wealth, but we cannot produce more time. When we give someone our time, we actually give them a portion of our life that we'll never take back. Our time actually is our life. So, my dear, the best present that you can give to your family and friends is your time. I'll say that again. The best present that you can give to your family and friends is your time. May God grant you plenty of time, and may you have the wisdom to give it away so that you can live, love, and die in peace. How amazing is that? But often what happens to us is our busyness actually cheats us of really experiencing the wealth of life. In other words, doing things that really make a difference either to us or to others. So, we might not be concentrating on building up our health. We might not be giving time to the special people in our lives, be they adults or children. We might not be giving ourselves any quiet time. We might not be giving ourselves time to learn. In fact, we might not be giving ourselves the time to do the things that we consider to be really important. So there was the Harvard Business School did a study a few years ago on what children felt was the biggest distraction in their parents' lives. In other words, what was stealing time away from the parents spending time with them. And this study was done in Disneyland, Disney World, where obviously one would think that the reason you're there is to have wonderful time, giving quality time to your children. And it probably isn't a huge shock to you, but the thing that was the most, that stole the most time from the children was their parents' cell phones. So we could go on about cell phones and social media for many sessions. I'm not going to do that. But it is one of the biggest wasters of our time in our days. Our cell phones, social media, Facebook, Twitter, and much as there is a need for them, and I'm not talking now about if you use those different medias for work-related things. I'm talking about just using it to play around as such. So according to the article in The Guardian, Walter Benjamin, who was a German philosopher many years ago, he wrote that in a capitalist society, contemplation was going to be replaced with distraction. And that's exactly what social media, cell phones, the internet can be. It can be huge distraction and a waste of time. So I'm sure you all can identify with you are researching something on Google, you suddenly get distracted by, oh, that looks like an interesting article. And the next minute you are 3,000 miles away from what you initially had wanted to do. And so that's the kind of distraction that we're speaking about. So many people will use social media to live vicariously, to live through others, and in fact, to escape the boredom of their own lives. According to ComScore, which is an American research company, American adult smartphone users spend an average of 73 hours a month on their apps, which works out at about 2.5 hours every day. Every day, 2.5 hours. Also across the ages, the most use was in the age group between 18 and 24, and they went up to 90 hours a week. Imagine what you could do. 19 hours a month. 90 hours a month. Imagine what you could do with those 90 hours. You could study, you could do an online course, you could take beautiful photographs, you could do enough fitness training to allow you to run a marathon, you could create a beautiful work of art. The list is endless. But in fact, we have non-productive time when we are fiddling on our phones. So it's easy to sound quite moralistic, and I don't want to go into the benefits or not of social media, of the internet, of phones, of the accessibility of our phones. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about today is let's look at the things that waste our time. And one of them, undoubtedly, one of the biggest ones, is using our phones. So I'm going to ask you to try and claim back some contemplative time, some thinking time, some activity or action-related time from these devices that seem to just steal and eat our time away, so that we choose to do the things that are maybe more meaningful or fulfilling to us. So very often we say we have no time. But if we look at 90 hours a month, that's quite a chunk, and it could make a significant difference in what we are doing. The other thing about social media is that often we will be on social media, we are looking at all the wonderful things that people are doing, and it's making us feeling like we just don't have a life. We're not on these fancy holidays. We're not living the life of Riley as everybody else on the planet seems to be living. So that in itself is also has a huge negative impact on us. So it's a double whammy, really. We are wasting time on our phones. And on top of it, it can often make us feel worse that we're missing out. So I'd like to challenge you to try and keep a record of how much time you do actually spend on your cell phone. If needs be, divide it into business time and personal time. And then I'd like to ask you to make a list of all the things that you would like to do that you're not doing at the moment. And then try and steal back some of the time that you're using on your cell phone to achieve these things. And my second challenge for you this week is to ask you the question, so who are you going to give your gift of time to this week? Who are you going to give your gift of time to this week? It's very precious, and let's make sure that we use it well. So if you have enjoyed the video or the thoughts that have come through, or the challenges that I have put out to you, I invite you please to share this video, and let's try and make sure that we really are living a quality life and not allowing our life to be eroded by things that steal our time. Let's make sure that that really valuable, precious commodity of our time is going to the really precious things in our life, whether it is people or activities. And I thank you as always for listening to my video, and I look forward to connecting again with you next week.